So that was a bit of a problem.
Wait, we've already taken notes on this one?
Yes, we did. So, all right. So we left off last time. We were talking about the Spanish American War, about some of the changes that were going on in the U.S. at this time. And of course, following that war, Teddy Roosevelt, his star shone brightly. He became vice president. And then McKinley, assassinated by an anarchist terrorist, and President McKinley. And because the president died, that made the vice president, Theodore Roosevelt, president. So that's where we left off last time.
What kind of president was McKinley?
He was mildly progressive. He was.
Who was he assassinated by?
He was assassinated by an Eastern European immigrant who was an anarchist. So at this time, like if you watch the video from last time, you find out that during this time period, anarchism and some radical socialist groups were tightly knitted together, and they were doing a lot of acts of terrorism. Like New York was having about a bombing a week. Cops were being assassinated. Mayors were being threatened. And eventually President McKinley is going to be one of those people assassinated. And because of all these terrorist acts, you're going to have a lot of crackdowns on immigration from certain parts of Europe to try to stop these people from coming over and, blow people up. It's going to be one of Teddy Roosevelt's major foreign policy things, too, is trying to prevent radicals from coming to the United States. Hey, what do you think this is a picture of? It has to do with Teddy Roosevelt. He's known for it.
Davison said Panama Canal.
The Panama Canal, that's right. Yeah, it's actually going to be started, I think, by a French developer. But Panama's going to face some civil disturbances. Yeah, go ahead. And when it does, we're going to get interested. So the United States was desperate to find a way to connect its naval forces in the eastern half of its continent with the Pacific Ocean off in the west. The Panama Canal's construction was started in 1884, and the U.S. made attempts to purchase it without success. However, political turmoil led to a revolution in Panama. We supported the revolutionaries and helped them win. And guess what? When you help people take over a government, sometimes they do you favors. And one of those favors was allow us to have the Panama Canal. And so thousands of U.S. laborers went over to finish the construction. It's about 50-mile waterway. The work was deadly due to jungle environment, and many, many people caught malaria carried by mosquitoes, especially back then. Malaria is still a major killer today throughout a lot of the world. The canal was heralded as a major success by expansionists and a travesty by isolationists. So remember that term, isolationist. So expansionists are like, yeah, rah-rah shish kebab, America. Let's go out there and let's go take over some certain parts of the world to help bring them up to speed with the first world. And the isolationists were like, what are you doing? This isn't justice, so not everybody agreed with what was going on. This is a pretty big period in canal building, though, because major freight and trading was through the ocean. And so if you can make bridges across the water for boats to go across, it really helps out. Kind of like the Suez Canal that cuts from the Mediterranean to the Arabian Sea in Egypt. Like, that's a major one. Instead of having to sail all the way around Africa, Europeans could then sail through the Mediterranean. Pop, there you are, real close to India. This did the same thing for us. Instead of having to sail all the way around South America, we just have to go through Central America or Mesoamerica. So this is going to be a big deal pickle. It's going to make our holdings in places such as Hawaii and the Philippines more important and more useful for our trade with places such as China, and of course Japan eventually.
does it go from?
It goes from like let me see, Panama. It's like in the really skinny part of just below Mexico before it connects to.
Just connects
Yeah.
to oceans?
Yeah, so they kind of dug this channeled canal where they have these walls come in, fills up with water. You sail across it, then the wall, they'll do so on. So it has these locks, right? It'll fill up with water, and you just kind of go forward, and yeah, you just sail from one end across the other to 50 miles.
Why do they have the
Wait, what is
walls?
it that?
I don't know exactly why. It's probably to prevent flooding or something, is my guess.
I think there's an elevation. Yeah.
The elevation
An
change.
elevation change. I think they have to go higher or lower depending on. They do. The water
That's
has to
smart.
change.
No, they're
They
smart.
have like dam systems in place, so they can like let a certain amount of water out, so they can like go down inclines.
I see. And I guess that would keep you from having to dig the canal super deep in some areas where the elevation's too high. So that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like they go a little bit and then
It's
they
like a
drop
really
down.
slow roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you go through it, like even today, we don't own it anymore, but we still use it. It's the only time where like even our naval vessels will allow foreigners to basically drive our ships, like even our destroyers and stuff, because it's very hard to navigate through. You got to keep it very still. So even like our naval vessels will let the Panama Canal officials like take control of our
Yeah.
ships and stuff.
Because they do, they live on that canal.
And we don't want to lose our.
We don't want to lose our destroyer.
Oh, no way. They're like super expensive. Yeah.
Billions of dollars.
At least $20.
Not really.
Well, yeah, at least $20, right?
At
I
least
mean,
one. It's probably more like millions, because billions is more like NASA numbers.
we're just mobile war cities. I mean,
I bet it is worth as much as my house.
good house.
Probably.
That's a big house.
Probably worth a little bit more.
Yeah. Maybe like $2,000 or $3,000.
I would say it's worth about 4 billion times more than my house is. My house is-
Houses.
But the big point about this whole slide really is what you need to know is we got the Panama Canal, and it's going to be rather helpful.
We live in a house that my great grandfather built like, in 80.
Wow.
Actually, 82.
Are you?
You kids ready to move on to the next one?
No.
Oh, y'all don't. It's just the most important part. All right, remember, you don't have to copy everything there. Some of the main
Yeah.
points.
I must.
Apparently, they do Mr.
We don't judge here
No,
out loud.
I know you're trying to out loud.
That's for why.
Yeah. I don't judge as harshly as you think, though.
So we judge as harshly.
You just think we're weird.
No, I only judge my children harshly. For some reason, whenever they make a mistake, I'm like, how could you do that? But if somebody else's kid does it, I'm like, who cares?
Well,
Sounds like most favorites.
Did we incite the?
No, bye-bye.
Did we incite the revolution so we could take over?
No, we helped out with it, though. Though we have helped with some revolutions in the past, especially in the Cold War, when you have what's called the color revolutions, right? It's basically where you kind of like foment, you help make a country have unrest, and then you help train and organize revolutionaries and give them supplies and stuff. That's a pretty big Cold War espionage thing. Lots of countries have done that. And we've did that. We've helped out. Now, we have helped out with allies in South America undercover a lot. in the Cold War. But
Really did some work.
during this time period, you are going to start seeing America's going to start getting involved with South America, where we start providing military, but especially financial aid to countries who are our friends and stuff like that.
Hey, we like giving money to our friends.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Like not so much places like Mexico. We kind of stayed out of Mexico's business.
Brazil.
Brazil? Not to the top of my head. No, not so much Brazil. But places like Panama was one. Cuba was definitely one. A lot of them are the Pacific Island, not the Pacific Islands, but like in the Caribbean. A travesty is like
It's a
something
very
bad.
sad occurrence.
Yeah. I think.
Like your parents died. That's a
Dominican
tragedy.
Republic? I gotta think about it. I'm not a South Americanist or Latin Americanist.
I thought you were.
Were you tested for COVID?
Why?
What'd you think I was
Because
gonna
he's
do?
like coughing up a storm over there.
I have congestion.
Yeah, if you have congestion, it's supposed to be super dry. Like my whole family has had allergies lately, so we got like I'm feeling gunky, but it's all like in my head, you know.
I got it from my brother and he got tested and it was negative.
All right,
Augers. Highlights from-
but yeah, if you
That's what I
do,
don't like about
if you do have that dry cough, or if you can't taste or smell something, please let me know.
Huh? What?
I can tell.
If you got that dry cough, or if you can't taste or smell, those are like the big ones. Like, let us know about that.
What if there is no smell or taste?
Then you what?
Like, what if it just, there's no smell or taste?
Then you aren't eating.
Then I guess we're all just having COVID symptoms.
Yes.
All right, so what do we see here?
Bad trust and good trust.
Dang, why does Roosevelt have a giant bat over his head?
Because he's known for a famous quote, speak softly and carry a big stick.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah. He loved going on African safaris, and he said that some African guy told him that. He was like, I'm going to use that. So, yeah, he was really into hunting.
Speak softly and carry a big stick.
Yeah, so that's like his
Motto.
yeah, his motto for
His
like
mantra.
diplomacy, right? And yeah, you see, you have like the railroad trust, the oil trust, everything in general trust. Yeah, he's shot the bad trust. He's got the good trust on a leash.
Everything in general.
So essentially, he's known for like squashing monopolies, and he's
Oh,
going to
it
start
literally
that.
says everything in general.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
So Teddy the Trust Buster. So remember, he's going to be like he is like known as the progressive president, right? So he's going to bring the Republican Party into progressivism, as it was known at that time. A trust was a form of monopoly in which businesses tried to hide their power by grouping their interest within a market to cooperate, but also prevent competitions. This is when you have like, all right, we know that it's illegal to only have one railroad company. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the three biggest railroad companies promise to help each other squash all the other ones. That way, us three will have the whole market. That's an example. So you could say like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of a modern one to do it, but like places like Google and Amazon and and YouTube, they kind of don't have competition. I mean, really, what's the other thing for YouTube? I mean, Twitch. I mean, yeah, Twitch. But Twitch is
run by
niche.
Amazon.
Yeah, and not only that, it's kind of a niche thing. Like it's almost entirely gamers, almost entirely.
Well, true.
And I mean, yeah, Vimeo. Nobody goes on there. It's like
What's that?
junk.
Miss Martinez.
Tell about Venmo.
Yeah, Vimeo. It's like or Vimeo or whatever it is. It's
I
like
use Venmo and Cash App all day, every day.
you're the one. It seems like most people just use YouTube. I mean, there are some.
Venmo is a money, like.
Vimeo.
No, I'm talking about the video
Vimeo is a
thing.
video.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
like,
No, not that one.
what?
It's a stream service. I mean, there's like like there's like other options in Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat, but like in Instagram.
MySpace.
Is that still around?
I don't think MySpace.
MySpace?
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
Tebow? I don't know.
I used MySpace when I was really young.
I mean, there's like, I don't know. There's like options, but those options are so small.
Yeah.
All right. So
Hi.
Roosevelt pledged to end the power of major trust in the U.S. and reform business. He was the first president to use the long neglected Sherman Antitrust Act. So you might not remember, but back in the Gilded Age, we talked about how this was passed, but it was never enforced. This was supposed to break up the power of trust in America. And when he uses it, it's going to bring down to 44 antitrust suits into court. And so he's going to be very effective with this, but we're going to see that his successor later is actually going to be even more effective with this. So he's going to use this against large railroad monopolies and Standard Oil, which is a major monopoly. His predecessor also passed the Interstate Commerce Act of 1887. Remember, that was McKinley, which Roosevelt used as a regulatory agency to monitor railroad pricing and oil business practices. So here's the big deal: is he's breaking up the big guys, not only to take their power, but also to allow competition to come in. Because, I mean, that's supposed to be the basis of a free market system, is you're supposed to allow competition. But sometimes in a free market system, you can have guys get so big that they get rid of all the competition. And so then things can kind of come, it's almost like a tyranny within the marketplace. So he's breaking those things up. I'm considering our tests to all be on a Chromebook, so I'm going to try to get it. So when we test on Friday, it's all going to be through Canvas. I'm going to make a new test, so ignore the stuff that's on there. I'm going to make a new one
Right, we don't have.
Next Friday.
next Friday.
Oh.
Yeah, not this one. So Wednesday,
You don't have to take a test this Friday, right?
yeah, we're gonna review Wednesday next week, and then we're going to Logan, close that, and then we're going to and then on that Friday we're going to take it through the Canvas shell and all that stuff. It's going to have your 10 multiple choice questions and your mini essay. So
Is that it? That's the test?
yeah, that's the test.
10 multiple choice.
10 multiple choice questions, 6 points each for a total of 60 points, and then you're going to have a 40-point essay. Winner chicken dinner. I'll tell you what your essay is going to be about as we get closer to the date. I haven't quite made my mind up yet. No, I could look up last year's test and see what I did then. No. It's going to be easier later on because we haven't talked about, I don't know. Maybe I'll ask a question about Spanish-American War. But remember, if you want to do really good on your essays, you should probably read the book. Huh?
Why would we be talking about the Spanish American War?
Because it was a big part of yesterday's lecture.
He wasn't here yesterday.
I know, you should probably go online and watch that later.
It wasn't yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, Monday, whatever. But in any case, you could do that. You could read the book. Like, the book's kind of important. You ready to move on?
Can you give us the chapters
Yes, sir.
that it would be over?
Absolutely, positively.
It's
not gonna be chapter 1, though, I'll tell you that. Rise of big business. It's progressivism under
I'm not gonna get the book.
expansion in the Pacific. I'm not making you get the book.
When it's online anyway.
But like, if y'all are ever here and you want to borrow a book while you're here, it's cool.
If no-
Hey, yeah, it's chapter 20. Chapter 20.
Okay.
Chapter 20. So, pretty easy to remember. So,
Just read chapter 20 and I'll nail the essay.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, now, okay, so now you pegged me. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be about Spanish American War.
Well, I mean, now it has to be about Spanish.
I guess it does, because I told you that. Yeah, so
Oh, okay. See, that's about the thing that I wasn't here for.
yeah, it sounds like you can fix that. Yeah, well, you go onto my YouTubes and you can watch this little dilly here or listen to it. Because I only-
Mr. Whitener and I'll subscribe.
I mean, really, I should just do audio recording because I don't need my face on here.
That's true.
I mean,
Do you want me to click the bell?
I can just put a picture up here. All right.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yes,
make sure to
I
click
love that
bell for
picture.
notifications.
We should make Mr. Wagner YouTube famous. Like, make you.
If only
No,
Roosevelt was
because then
like that.
people start fact checking me. They're like, Mr. Whitener, you're teaching these kids wrong. I'm like, oh gosh, don't kill
Right,
No.
right. Gotcha.
them.
If only Roosevelt looked like that.
he did like to lift weights and he did box. He was also
Dude, Roosevelt was swole.
no, he wasn't swole. He's
not
kind of
an
he's gonna
actual, like,
he was fit for his time. He had a beer belly, but
Dang.
yeah, it's kind of funny because actually, there was one famous incident where he started griping at how unfit Congress was, and he actually ordered them outside and had them all run with him. And so, like, some of them are like in their 80s and they're just like falling down. So
Oh my god.
yeah, he loved boxing.
I almost said, is there a video of it?
No, he
Yes, there is a video of it here.
he actually he thought he had Japanese ambassadors bring over judo and jiu-jitsu instructors, and
Oh my
he took
gosh.
lessons in the
He
White
was
House.
petty.
He
It
was.
was I can't
I would
only
do
hot
that
when
if
in
I was the
office.
president.
I would be like.
He would go on hunting expeditions when he could. He loved
You're
hiking.
gonna teach me
It
judo.
could be an advantage. You really wanted America to be like full of sexy swole office.
He thought-
workers.
He thought this
Sailor
is
rolls up, just
They're all like
No.
walking up and they're all like
Going
busting
to
out of
my
their
office.
shirts.
he was
like-
really into being macho, right? It's
Then
like, hey,
Roosevelt passes a law, and if you go into Congress, you have to be swole.
A new
Yeah.
amendment
just be
is
massive.
every
And if you
congressman has
if
to
you
run
aren't,
and
You're
work
gonna
out
have to
with me.
train every single day until you
If you want a political career, you have to
If you want to be
swole.
president, you have to be swole.
I think he was also known for like drinking like gallons of like tea and coffee a day. He was just like
Yes,
really
and
into.
tea.
He was caffeined out all the time.
Oh, that.
So, U.S. foreign policy. As outlined previously with Panama, the Roosevelt administration's foreign policy was guided by the speak softly and carry a big stick principle. After McKinley's assassination, Roosevelt kept Secretary of State John Hay in his cabinet. You know, I don't know about that. Hay was known for his open door policy regarding China. What this meant is that
Isn't that a bad thing? Hey.
Okay, well, the Chinese wanted to restrict foreign countries from coming into their country because they were losing their sovereignty, right? Foreign countries were coming in, and like England, for example, was forcing the Chinese to buy their opium, which was destroying their society. But England was making a lot of money off of it. You know, if somebody's addicted to your product, they're going to keep buying your product. So
Even
It
if
does
they know
either.
better.
but the thing is a lot of European countries were trying to make sure nobody else could trade there. They wanted a monopoly on it. America wanted to have an open door policy to where anybody who wanted to could trade with the Chinese. So under this policy, the U.S. pushed for equal trading rights within China for all imperial powers, despite Chinese sovereignty. So before this and before the Opium Wars, China had very strict regulatory trading. Like, right, it was like they just had a couple of commercial hubs and you had to go through specific channels. And so it was expensive, which made Chinese goods super expensive. But it kept China pretty safe. Thing is, though, the imperial powers, especially Great Britain, had such a powerful military, they were able to crack that door open. So after years of China missing out on its own sovereignty, having foreign interference, in 1899 through 1901, you have a popular anti-foreign power movement in China called the Boxer Rebellion. These boxers, they train in hand-to-hand fighting, and they believed in, I guess you'd call it like shamanistic, like power and stuff like that, because Shamanism was like a big thing in China, like magic potions and stuff like that. So they had like this, I think it was trinkets or the potion or they would drink. And they thought it made them impervious to bullets. So they went around beating up Westerners like missionaries, teachers, business people to death. And eventually they're going to get shot up because they weren't bulletproof. And it's going to get put down after that. U.S. forces will aid in squashing of this rebellion, which stood out as an example of the weakening of that country and foreign interest of the U.S. So China's going to have problems like this all the way until the end of World War II, because you're going to have like year after year after year where you're going to have places like you're even going to have a war called the Sino-Japanese War, where you're going to have or the Russo-Sino War, I think, where you're going to have Russia and Japan go to war over who gets to control what part of China, right? So you're going to have countries basically have their own little towns in China, make their own little factories and stuff. In World War II, Japan's going to totally take over China and make it do whatever they want to. And that's going to help lead the groundwork for the Maoist revolution, which is going to be like a really super bloody affair. But I mean, similar things happened in India. But in India, the British model of imperialism wasn't quite as bloody. They did put down rebellions, but because it was just one country controlling the kingdoms down there, there wasn't quite as much like Europe on Europe fighting or great power fighting and stuff. You are going to have fighting like this, of course, over parts of Africa, though. There's going to be a lot of mini imperial wars and stuff like that. So that's the thing. The 19th and 18th century have a lot of European Western powers fighting over the third world. So
Sounds about right.
Is this the last slide of the day?
no, we still got 35 minutes left in
We
class.
do?
Well, no, wait.
Today's going
30 minutes.
Oh, that's a big change.
Yeah, we started a little late. I'd like to go at least 10, 15 more minutes. So. Then I want to find out where these computers are supposed to go. Because I don't want those things in here. They should be charging somewhere.
The shadow. Indeed, it should go to the shadow.
I don't think they're Dr. Elliott's. I thought he had like a brand new car. It was like new.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he does. He has been like very organized, and they would never disappear from his cloud.
All right. Yep. Let's go to the next one, right?
Yes.
All right.
Wait.
Bye. Your big thing to know about this is that the United States is going to want to start moving into, like the rest of the world, they're going to want to expand imperialism, where our country is benefiting off of foreign powers. Like we're strong, you're not quite as strong, so we get to enrich ourselves off of that. But you got to remember, it wasn't just about that. It was also justified with the sense of missionary work. Spread Christianity, spread ideas of democracy. We can spread the markets to where perhaps they will get things they otherwise wouldn't have. So, and people generally do all benefit from trade. Trade is one of those things where both sides get to win. So he was good at breaking up trust. He's also going to be the first president to really get involved with private businesses, even for national security. So here we've seen that Roosevelt championed progressive reforms against monopolies and for workers' rights. So the coal strike of 1902. We've seen in the past that workers had strikes when they felt that they weren't getting enough pay, it was too dangerous, working way too many hours, things like that, or other violations of their perceived rights. Well, coal was used to heat most people's homes in the Northeast. And we had one of the coldest winters of record coming in. Coal miners at the United Mine Workers of America decided to go on strike, demanding better wages. This led to a panic. The supply of coal was dwindling, the price was going up, and a lot of people are expected to freeze to death. The owners of the coal mines decided to not hear the mine workers' demands. The nation feared a high death count that winter due to common use of coal for heating. Roosevelt's going to bring both parties into the White House, and he's going to end the strike. How he's going to have it ended is that the owners didn't want to cave in. They're like, we can't afford their demands. The workers were like, you can't make us work. Roosevelt actually threatened to have the army come in, arrest the strikers, and have soldiers just mine the coal, if I remember right. So they finally cave in, and they worked out an agreement. I'm not sure how the agreement came about, but here you had something where, for the first time, really, the president is going to get involved with private interest, threaten using the military to basically save American lives. Presidents before him would have done that. How about?
He was cold in the White House.
Cold in the White House. So he's going to send in the army.
Can you imagine that happened today? Like the electricians or like the air conditioning company didn't get to go to the White House, so they sent out the.
Well, I'm kind of thinking like there's some things like, I mean, but but like even before the Civil War, the military was used for things like flood relief, building dams and bridges and stuff like that. So it's not unheard of to think about the military doing things like helping out, like to keep people safe, even against nature. But to use the military against a private company was kind of like a new thing. There may have been other examples. I can't think of one. I think it's one of the things he was kind of a first for. He's a first for a lot of things, though. That, nature conservation, stuff like that.
Yellowstone.
Huh?
Did he make better Yellowstone?
He visited it, and he had it made. He started the national park system.
Who made Yellowstone?
He did a lot
Nature.
of things, like
Yeah,
a lot of
nature.
things.
Well, like, who made it
I
He did some
think
bad
I
things.
think it was him. It might have been
But
him.
he did a lot of good things for America. You know,
Who?
Roosevelt.
For a Democrat?
Yeah, he did a lot of good things for America in general.
Oh, I thought you said
Like
Democrat.
in the long
Yeah.
run.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why he's on Mount Rushmore, right? He was a very popular president. If he wanted to, if he had stuck with it, some people say he could have been president for life if he wanted to, because they didn't have term limits back then. He could have just kept running as much as he wanted to.
Wasn't he the one who ran 3?
You're thinking about his cousin, FDR.
Yeah, Franklin Delano.
Yeah, he's going to be president several times.
He ran 3 times. Did he get
Was
elected?
he good?
He's some people say he was a great president.
He got elected for 3 terms.
Yeah.
And then after that, they made terms, I think.
Um,
Roosevelt just kind of went with it. He was like, okay, I'm gonna hop out now.
And he's just like, I'm tired of this.
But yeah, the other Roosevelt, we're going to see he's with the president throughout most of World War II, but he's also going to expand a lot of government powers such as Social Security and stuff like that. He's going to be the president for those things.
No, Social Security is expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive nowadays. It used to not be so expensive, but
Like, wow, we have to pay to be us.
don't worry, it probably won't be there when you're old enough for it.
I don't know.
That's what I've been told that my whole life. I was always told that I'll never have Social Security. I would
Well-
say don't count on things that you aren't sure of. So you should really
I
make
just
sure.
hate whenever my paycheck comes in and it's not at all as much as I should be making because stupid taxes. It makes me sad.
Well, I think we're supposed to have a tax holiday coming up. or a lot of those are going to be put on suspension. It's supposed to be
But
part of
also,
COVID
like-
relief.
The roads.
Yeah. Now,
The
Now,
road,
your
like,
local
Jeff
roads-
Davis, you
yeah.
know Jeff Davis?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So bad.
It is such, is that how you get to church too?
No, that's how I get everywhere.
Everywhere. Oh.
Jeff Davis, that little bitty road in front of Cumberland,
Yes.
Yes.
it's like that long.
No.
No, it's
Jeff
it's,
Davis is a long.
I thought
It's a
it was
long
just
road.
like, I thought it just went from the stop
it's
sign
at least like
to,
No, Jeff
Cumberland.
Davis goes like all the way to what is that road?
it stretches like okay, so Robert E. Lee Road
That
that
road just down there?
Biloxi? You know Biloxi?
yeah,
It
it
stretches
goes
from Biloxi
okay, so
all the way
on,
to
if you go
Broadway.
on Broadway
Uh-huh.
and you pass like Bahama Bucks and then you take if you're going like
That's
towards Andes and then you take a right and you go up, you're on
You're in like this neighborhood.
I don't know what it's called, but there's construction back there, so you can't
Uh-huh.
go. You gotta go down some stuff.
yeah, it's in
But-
the construction part, yeah.
But that road leads, and then you go straight. My house is over there.
It's
but
essentially like almost all the way to Broadway. It goes from
Now-
Biloxi almost all the way to Broadway.
yeah, and then it takes you down to Biloxi, but it's a long road.
Yeah.
Now, those roads are supposed to be paid by local taxes. Your federal taxes should only really work on like interstates and stuff like that.
So like the toll road. No.
Now, the toll road is privately owned,
They
but
gotta fix that toll road because my poor little car can't do that.
I mean, that's the thing about tolls. Tolls are usually, a lot of times, they're private roads owned by a company, like TxDOT. And TxDOT, well,
What's ours owned by?
I think it's TxDOT. TxDOT sticker works, I think.
TxDOT owns a lot.
And so,
Why? Who gave them permission?
the
Do they-
city of Tyler.
Okay, so the city of Tyler gives them permission to build that road in exchange for not having to pay for it.
I don't know. But it,
Like, why?
it's
why
seen
else
as a-
would we have it?
for a lot of the, I think one of the reasons that they're justifying it is that it's supposed to increase amount of traffic and commerce coming in and out of Tyler.
Mm.
So there's a lot of people who like to take the toll because they're like, I don't feel like dealing with Tyler's like record number stop signs and stoplights. So-
Yeah, those kind of exist.
They're insane.
But the thing is, you gotta be careful
Like
about
we have
toll
to-
is that they keep jacking the price up like every other month and they won't tell you. So, oh yeah. Here, let's do one more. All right, wait, wrong one. This computer. Hey, look, in color. And there's
How did they
Roosevelt
get that?
and Taft.
Probably with a
With very, very early color photographs.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I got
see-
colored photographs.
See, being healthy back then was a little different. So, and here's
Yeah, it was.
I don't know who this guy
That
is,
is
but
creepy.
Yeah.
He's just your friendly neighborhood.
all right. So after Roosevelt, we will talk more about Roosevelt. Don't worry. Roosevelt at first did not think he was proper for a president to serve a second term. No, not second term. After a second term, so he thought 2 terms was enough because that's what George Washington did, and nobody wants to outdo George Washington. It'd be bad taste. So he proclaimed William Howard Taft, his friend, to be his successor. Taft was Secretary of War for Roosevelt, his good friend. Though Taft reluctantly accepted Roosevelt's request, his dream was to be Supreme Court Justice.
Isn't he the one that wanted that was stuck in a bathtub?
Yes, he is. He was known for being pretty obese.
What?
And the thing is, I don't remember if that was a rumor or really happened, but apparently, yeah, he was so obese he got stuck in the bathtub and they had to
Oh,
break him out.
mood.
Would you like some help? Take
What are you talking about obese people in bathtubs?
we're talking about
Howard Taft.
a president.
About Roosevelt? No, Taft.
Taft.
Oh, Taft.
The guy after.
Roosevelt.
He
Roosevelt.
came in at a bad time,
What?
sir.
No, actually, that's quite entertaining.
Yeah, so Taft was different from Roosevelt. Roosevelt was an extrovert. Taft was like a quiet to himself guy.
He was like, he called. He was like, I'm stuck in the bathtub.
Yeah, I don't know how you would get out of that one.
I would have just sat there and died. That would be
Just
so embarrassing.
But that'd be sad for anybody who finds you.
I would just live there and be like, I'm not moving.
I would have been, yeah.
So, yeah, he's going to win the election pretty easily because Roosevelt was so famous. He basically campaigned for him. He just went out and was like, hey, you need to elect my friend. And people did it because they really liked Roosevelt.
They'd be like, that'd be like me being like, hey, vote McKenna for president because I like her.
Okay.
Yeah, except,
So?
people would all have to love you.
The thing is,
Fuck
too.
choking.
All right, so he's going to be, he's a very good lawyer, right? So he knows the law very well. He's actually going to do what Roosevelt did to a higher power. So like busting up monopolies and trusts and stuff like that. He's going to outpace his predecessor, Roosevelt. And like I hinted at this earlier, like dollar diplomacy, he's going to help spread American influence in the Western Hemisphere and Asia by essentially making trade agreements with like Latin American countries and stuff like that, and offering them financial incentives to let us do things like open up military bases on their shores and stuff like that. And so we still do that today. Like I was stationed for a few years in Italy, and the U.S. government for letting us keep our base there. The base was opened up after World War II because, we kind of beat up Italy.
Yeah.
But because we were there, though, we paid millions of dollars every year to the city our base was in to do things like help fix their roads and stuff like that. So,
Well, did
we
you
still
break
get
the roads?
well, I mean, I just kind of walked around, but
Did y'all like break them with tanks?
no, wait, no, we didn't have tanks because we were infantry guys. Like we looked at tanks with like amazement and wonder. It's like, what does that do?
And you'd be like,
When I
I've
was
seen it.
Did you ever look down the map?
Of a tank?
Yep.
No, but I used to get behind Abrams every now and again, training to warm up, like in the winter, because they're very, very warm in the back.
I remember the second you,
All the exhaust coming out of the back.
the second you got out, they were like, we're going to war. And you're like, oh,
That's okay.
you went on a hunting safari? My dad, I didn't even see my dad all week.
Yeah. When
I
Taft
got
first
this
became
stupid-
president, Roosevelt went to Africa with his son on a hunting safari. And what's funny is his son, that same son, will one day become one of the generals at D-Day when they invade Normandy. So, like, if you ever watch Saving Private Ryan, Teddy Roosevelt's son
My
is going to
God,
be
that's
one of the major generals that's going to land on those beaches. But they're going to land on the one that doesn't really have anything happening. So he's going to be okay.
So did Roosevelt only serve one term?
No, he
He
served two.
He did
And then he
two.
came back. He wanted to do a third because he got really mad at Taft. But that he made a third party to do that. So he basically made the other guy win, who wasn't going to win.
Yeah, what was the name of the third party?
Bull Moose.
The Bull Moose,
Bull
right?
Moose.
Not the Know Nothing. the Bull Moose.
He
So,
was basically the
when did
Ross
the-
Perot guy.
What was the amendment that limited it to 2 terms?
I
There
don't
wasn't one, we
remember.
just didn't do one.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
there
okay.
is. There's an
George
amendment.
Washington.
It was 20 or 21.
He
Well,
did.
there
He
was
didn't
an
wanna
amendment, but
outshine
it
George.
wasn't in place until after he was.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's
That
gonna
was-
be
We had to put that in after FDR.
Yeah, that's FDR. Yeah, yeah. Teddy would have made it, but he didn't.
Learn something.
Hey, that's the last one for today. So, yeah, the notes are on the Google Classroom. We're going to test next Friday, not this Friday,
Cool.
and all that good stuff.
Wait, Theodore Roosevelt's on like a dollar bill, right? Not the dollar, but like on a bill.
Wait a second.